All praises, honor, and glory to the Lord, whose name is Yahweh. It's the name of the Heavenly Father, in the name of His only begotten Son, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, whose name is Yahweh Shai. In the name of the Holy Spirit, the Rakah Quadash. Rakah Spirit Quadash is holy. And that's all in the Paleo Hebrew tongue. Also, I want to give double honors to the apostles and the elders over at the Great Millstone Camp. I want to also give a shout out to all of the teachers over there. Learned a lot from them. Okay? I'm going to start off with Genesis chapter 49, verse 17. Dan shall be a serpent by the way, and adder in the path, that biteth the horse heels, so that his rider shall fall backward. So this is a prophecy stated by Jacob, who was the progenitor and the father of the 12 tribes of Israel, in which Jacob's name was turned to Israel. So he gave all of his sons, a prophecy of what they shall do in the latter end, in the latter days. And this is a prophecy of what Dan shall do. So even though Dan is not listed in the book of Revelations, I believe that's the 7th chapter of all of the tribes that's going to be sealed for the 144,000, Dan shall still have his portion in the kingdom of heaven. And let's go back here, and let's go to Ezekiel, the 48th chapter. Because when you go to Ezekiel chapter 37, Ezekiel, the 37th chapter through the 48th chapter, is all a chronological series of events that's going to happen. Now, some people, they disagree, but I truly believe that Ezekiel, the 40th chapter through the 48th chapter, is about the kingdom of heaven and its specifications and the allotment that all of the tribes is going to receive. And that's similar to the vision that John the Revelator had in Revelation chapter 21 and chapter 22. So let's go to Ezekiel. Especially when you look up about the throne. The throne had the water flowing. The throne had the water flowing from it. Had the river of living water that flowed through it. And that throne was never set up in the ancient kingdom. We talking about when the Israelites had first went into the land of Canaan, given to them by the Heavenly Father through the leadership of Joshua. So I'm talking, let me get to it. Ezekiel 48. Now these are the names of the tribes. This is Ezekiel chapter 48, verse 1. Now these are the names of the tribes from the north end of the coast of the way of Hethlon, as one goeth to Hamath, Hazaranon, the border of Damascus northward, to the coast of Hamath, for these are his sides, east and west, a portion for Dan. And by the border of Dan from the east side unto the west side, a portion for Asher. And by the border of Asher from the east side even unto the west side, a portion for Naphtali. And even when you go to Judges, the 2nd chapter, Numbers, the 2nd chapter, the Lord gives a specific way in which the Israelites were supposed to encamp. And the tribe of Dan, we'll go to it, the tribe of Dan, which was set up as a standard for a tribe. So he was the standard of the north, and the tribes under him were Naphtali and Asher. And this was like a military setup. in which the tribes were supposed to encamp. So let's go to the 48th verse. It was round about 18,000 measures, and the name of the city from that day shall be the Lord is there. So this is talking about the kingdom of heaven. And like I said, like I mentioned earlier, that Ezekiel chapter 47 through the 48th chapter is a chronological series of events, because Ezekiel 30, the 37th chapter, is about the awakening of the Israelites in their prospective lands where they will be in captivity. So when you go to the 38th chapter, that's speaking about World War III. And when you go into the 39th chapter, it's also speaking about World War III and the ending of World War III and the salvation of the Israelites in their prospective lands. Then when you go into the 40th chapter, that's when it starts talking about the kingdom of heaven and the lots of the tribes, you know, the do's and don'ts when they get into the land, the specifications, okay? And this is now let's go to the 47th chapter. Let's start at verse 1. Afterward he brought me again unto the door of the house, and behold, waters issued from out under the threshold of the house eastward, for the forefront of the house stood toward the east, and the waters came down from under, from the right side of the house at the south side of the altar. Then brought he me out of the way of the gate northward, and led me about the way without unto the utter gate by the way that looketh eastward, and behold, there ran out waters on the right side. And when the man that had the line in his hand went forth eastward, he measured 1,000 cubits, and he brought me through the waters. The waters were to the ankles. Again he measured 1,000, and he brought me through the waters. The waters were to the knees. Again he measured 1,000, and brought me through the waters. Through the waters were to the loins. Afterward he measured 1,000. It was a river that could not pass over, for the waters were risen, waters to swim in, a river that could not be passed over. And he said to me, Son of man, thou see this? Then he brought me and caused me to return to the brink of the river. Now when I had returned, behold, at the bank of the river were very many trees on the one side and on the other. Then he said unto me, These waters issue out toward the east country, and go down into the desert, and go into the sea, which being brought forth into the sea, the water shall be healed. And it shall come to pass that everything that liveth, which moveth whithersoever the river shall come, shall live. And there shall be a very great multitude of fish, because these waters shall come hither, for they shall be healed. And everything shall live whither the river cometh. And it shall come to pass that the fishes shall stand it upon from Engedi even unto Engalim, which shall be a place to spread forth nets. Their fish shall be according to their kinds, as the fish of the great sea, exceeding many. But the miry places thereof and the marshes thereof shall not be healed, they shall be given to salt. And by the river upon the bank thereof, on this side and on that side, shall grow all trees for meat, whose leaf shall not fade, neither shall the fruit thereof be consumed. It shall bring forth new fruit according to his month, because their waters that they issued out of the sanctuary, and the fruit thereof shall be for meat, and the leaf thereof for medicine. So now let's go to, I just had to go through that, so now let's go to Revelation, the 22nd chapter. Speaks of a similar vision. And he showed me, this is Revelation chapter 22, verse 1, and he showed me a pure river of water of life, clear as crystals, proceeding out of the throne of God and of the Lamb, in the midst of the street of it, and on either side of the river was there the tree of life, which bare 12 manner of fruits, and yielded her fruit every month, and the leaves of the tree were for the healing of the nations. Okay? So this is the same vision Ezekiel saw, but worded differently. This is my whole point. That Dan shall receive his portion in the land, because we just left from Ezekiel the 47th chapter, which described this same vision as Revelation the 22nd chapter. And in Ezekiel the 48th chapter, it talks about Dan's portion in the land. So let's go to the 21st chapter in Revelation. And I heard this verse 3, and I heard a great voice out of heaven saying, behold, the tabernacle of God is with men. So what did we read in Ezekiel the 48th chapter at the last verse? That place shall be called the Lord is there. And I heard a great voice out of heaven saying, behold, the tabernacle of God is with men, and he will dwell with them, and they shall be his people, and God himself shall be with them and be their God. Okay, now let's go down. Okay, verse 10, and he carried me away in the spirit, a great and high mountain, and showed me that great city, the holy Jerusalem, descending out of heaven from Yahweh, having the glory of Yahweh, and her light was like unto a stone most precious, even like a jasper stone, clear as crystal, and had a wall great and high, and had 12 gates, and at the gates 12 angels, and the names written thereon are the names of the 12 tribes of the children of Israel. On the east 3 gates, on the north 3 gates. So whose 3 gates was on the north side in Ezekiel the 48th chapter? The 3 lots that were on the north side were Dan, Asher, and Naphtali. Now let's go to Numbers the 2nd chapter. Passed it up all the way. So let's go to Numbers chapter 2. See this. Let's just read the couple first verses. And the Lord spake unto Moses and unto Aaron, saying, every man of the children of Israel shall pitch by his own standard with the ensign of their father's house. So what is an ensign? An ensign is like a banner. So you have a banner displaying your symbol. Every man of the children of Israel shall pitch by his own standard with the ensign of their father's house. Far off about the tabernacle of the congregation shall they pitch. And on the east side toward the rising of the sun shall they of the standard of the camp of Judah pitch throughout their armies. And Nahshon the son of Amminadab shall be the captain of the children of Judah, and his host, and those that are numbered with him were 80. Okay, and those that do pitch next to him. So Judah is a standard. Okay, that means Judah is the standard of the east, and the tribe of Zebulun. Those that pitch next to him shall be the tribe of Issachar. Okay, and his hosts that were numbered thereof were 54,400. Verse 7, the tribe of Zebulun. So under the tribe of Judah's standard was Zebulun and Issachar. So that's one of the points that I'm trying to make. So now let's go to who's the standard of the camp of the north. Okay. The standard of the camp of Dan shall be on the north side by their armies, and the captain. So this is Numbers chapter 2 verse 25. The standard of the camp of Dan shall be on the north side by their armies, and the captain of the children of Dan shall be Ahazar the son of Amashadai, and his host, and those that were numbered of them were 62 were 60, in which a score is 60. So we talking about a score is 20. So three scores, 3 times 20. So 60,000 and 2,000. So 62,700. And those that encamp by him shall be the tribe of Asher, and the captain of the children of Asher shall be Pagiel the son of Akron. So let's see who's next. Then the tribe of Naphtali, and the captain of the children of Naphtali shall be Ahira the son of Enan. So you had those same 3 tribes, just as the Lord had commanded Moses to have them encamp in a certain formation. This is how it's going to be in the kingdom of heaven with the when the lots get divvied out. Okay, and Dan is going to be still the standard of a camp. Dan is going to be the standard of a camp. So let's go back to Genesis, the 49th chapter. Dan shall judge his people as one of the tribes of Israel. Why? Because Dan is the standard of a camp. And it's not just talking about one of the judges that was a Danite, which was Samson. Okay? But judge is the standard of a camp. And when we're talking about the standard, he is the leader of the 3 camps, of the other 2 camps that encamp by him. Dan shall judge his people as one of the tribes. Dan shall be a serpent by the way, an adder in the path, that biteth the horse's heels, so that his rider shall fall backwards. And what does that mean? Who is the horse? A horse just represents power. And when you're talking about the vision that Nebuchadnezzar had in the book of Daniel, Nebuchadnezzar had a vision of an image, and each part of the image represented a power that was a people that was going to come in power. So why does this say Dan shall be a serpent by the way, an adder in the path, that biteth the horse heels? Why? Because we are living in the time where the heels are in power, and the heels just represent the feet. So let's go to Daniel, the 2nd chapter. Verse 31, Thou, O king, sawest, and behold, a great image, this great image whose brightness was excellent, stood before thee, and the form thereof was terrible. This image's head was of fine gold, his breast and his arms of silver, his belly and his thighs of brass, his legs of iron, his feet part of iron and part of clay. Thou sawest till that a stone was cut out without hands, and which smote the image upon the feet that were of iron and clay, and brake them into pieces. Thou sawest till that a stone was cut out without hands, which smote the image upon his feet that were of iron and clay, and break them into pieces. So Dan is going to be, the tribe of Dan is going to be instrumental, because when you go into the 7th chapter of Daniel in the 18th verse, it says the saints shall take the kingdom. And who was that stone? That stone is going to be who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. But the stones that are with him are going to be the saints. Then was the iron and clay, the brass and silver and the gold broke to pieces together, and became like the chaff of the summer threshing floors, and the wind carried them away, that no place was found for them. And the stone that smote the image became a great mountain, and filled the whole earth. So let's go to Daniel, the 4th chapter. To prove that this image that we live in now. Let's go to verse 17. This matter is by the decree of the watchers, and the demand by the word of the holy ones, to the intent that the living may know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, and giveth it to whomsoever he giveth it to whomsoever he will, and setteth up over it the basest of men. So when we talking about the feet, your feet represents the base of your body, because it's at the, just like you have a basement, is the lowest part in elevation of a structure or a house. Okay, so we talking about the feet. So who's going to rule in the latter times? It's talking about the Roman Empire, the Greco-Roman Empire. So let's go to 2nd Esdras, which represents the last captivity of the Israelites. 2nd Esdras 6 KJV, which is going to rule in the latter days. So this 2nd Ezra chapter 6, and this is an apocryphal book. The apocrypha was originally in the King James Version Bible. So you have to get a 1611 edition of the King James Version Bible for the apocrypha to be in there. But other than that, they revised the Bible and took it out. And he said unto me, from Abraham unto Isaac, when Jacob and Esau were born of him, Jacob's hand held first the heel of Esau. The heel of Esau. So who was that? Who was going to be that? You know, Dan is that serpent that is going to strike the heel of the horse and make his rider fall back. And that horse just represents power, and I'm going to get to that. For Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. And also, when we talking about a heel, that is also another sign that Esau is in, that Esau is the feet of that image that Nebuchadnezzar had in his dream. The hand of man is betwixt the heel and the hand. Other questions Esdras asked thou not. So Dan is going to be real instrumental in the taking down of Esau and his kingdom. Okay, because Dan is out there with the rest of the prophets prophesying also, the tribe of Dan. Although he's not listed as part of being one of the tribes that be part of the 144,000, but as his father or forefather Israel had told him that he's going to judge Israel, he's going to judge his people. He's going to be a judge in the kingdom. So let's go back. Let's go back to Genesis. 49. Because it keeps talking about the hill. Keeps talking about the hill. Genesis 49. Go. Dan shall judge his people as one of the tribes of Israel. Dan shall be a serpent by the way, an adder in the path that biteth the horse's heel, so that his rider shall fall backwards. Okay, so who's that horse? Just represents power. So let's go to, I believe it's Ecclesiastes chapter 10. Ecclesiastes chapter 10. Verse 5, there is an evil which I have seen under the sun, as an error which proceedeth from the ruler. Folly is set in great dignity, and the rich sit in low place. I have seen servants upon horses. So that horse just represents the power that the rider is on, okay? So Esau is the end of the days, okay? So Esau's power is going to be in the latter days, and Jacob's power shall be the rulership that comes after Esau's power. And Esau is the so-called white man, okay? The elite of the white man rule and have dominion over the planet Earth right now. Folly is set in great dignity, and the rich sit in low places. I have seen servants upon horses, and princes walking as servants upon the earth. So you want to know why our people are in such a low estate? Because the princes are truly in the low places right now. The princes are in poverty, and the real servants are in power, okay? And that horse represents power. So when we go back to, I know it seems like I'm beating a dead horse, okay? But when we go back to Genesis, the 49th chapter, this is what this is talking about. Dan shall be a serpent by the way, an adder in the path that biteth the horse heels. So is going to bite so Dan, just like how the Messiah told us, to be wise as serpents and harmless as doves. An adder in the path that biteth the horse heels, so that his rider shall fall backwards. So who rides on the horse right now? The basis of men, okay? So even when we go to Job, the 30th chapter, it's talking about Esau, Edom. But now, verse 1, but now they that are younger than I have me in derision, whose fathers I would have disdain to have set with the dogs of my flocks. Why? Because they are the basis of men, okay? They will screw the animals, all right? They're in the bestiality. You see with all type of wickedness that comes forth from these people, and they are in high places right now. Just like how King Solomon had mentioned in Ecclesiastes, he have seen servants on horses. You know, he has seen folly is set in great dignity. And what is folly? Folly is foolishness, all right? So foolishness is set up in the earth in prominent places. Yeah, whereto might the strength of their hands profit me, in whom old age was perished, for want and famine they were solitary, fleeing into the wilderness in former time, desolate and waste, who cut up mallows by the bushes and juniper roots for their meat. They were driven forth from among men, they cried after them as after a thief. And this is to dwell in the cliffs of the valleys, in caves of the earth, and in the rocks. So this is talking about the so-called white man going into obscurity, becoming cave dwellers. And this is talking about after the fall of the Roman Empire, after the initial fall of the Roman Empire, before the Renaissance times, where they came back into power after their 1,000 years of being being in this caveman-like state, because they were driven into the caves. And this is when you start seeing the so-called black monarchy in Europe at the time of the Dark Ages, and that was called the Eastern Roman Empire, which was also called the Byzantine Empire, and they ruled for 1,000 years. So you can go to Revelation, the 20th chapter, which explains that also, about the devil and Satan going into the bottomless pit for 1,000 years. That's what that is talking about. That devil and Satan, which devil just means deceiver in the Greek and the Latin. And when you're talking about Satan, the word Satan, all that means is an adversary. So it wasn't talking about the spiritual devil. It wasn't talking about the spiritual demon Satan. It was talking about these people that are deceivers and are an adversary to the Lord's people. Okay, but I don't want to do too much on this. But Dan will have his portion in the kingdom, and he will be instrumental in taking the so-called white man down. Okay, so with that, Thwadi Abba Shim Yawashai, my name is Sagala. Until the next time.